Scott mentioned that we're finishing at 12:15. He wasn't precise whether it was 12:15 p.m. or a.m. So I'm assuming a.m., so buckle up. I'm originally from Australia, so that's why I think you talk funny. I've really enjoyed today. I'm a linguist. I look around the room and there's a few other linguists here, and I think we share the same love for language, but at times, as I think has been mentioned that have come out today, there's a certain frustration as we deal with what's going on with the law and with other areas. We have a certain amount of knowledge that we'd like to share, and here's the problem though. The problem is that just about everybody here, I'm assuming everybody, has high proficiency in their language. As a scientific endeavour, linguistics is different. I mean, mathematics, for example, assumes that not a lot of other people are highly competent in mathematics, right? Linguistics, on the other hand, you all know language, but you know it at the subconscious level. Let me give you a couple of demonstrations. Think of the sentence, "He didn't kiss his wife last night," right? He didn't kiss his wife last night. There are 8 very different meanings derived from that sentence that a linguist knows about, that you all know about at a subconscious level. Let me give you a demonstration. He didn't kiss his wife last night. He didn't kiss his wife last night. He didn't kiss his wife last night. What's going on? What's going on there with that? Do you know? You all understand the meaning, right? If I say he didn't kiss his wife last night, what happened? Somebody else kissed his wife last night. He didn't kiss his wife last night. What happened? You see what's going on? You all know this, but you don't know how to bring it to the conscious level. Linguists know that what's going on in that sentence is that the negative gets attached to the stressed word, but the rest of the sentence remains true. He didn't kiss his wife last night. The negative gets attached to he, the rest of the sentence remains true. His wife was kissed last night by somebody, but not him. Right? You with me? What linguists do is bring subconscious knowledge to the surface. Here's another demonstration of that. How many fingers do you have? Most people are going to say 10. Is your thumb a finger? How many fingers do you have? See what I did there was I narrowed the context. By asking the question, is your thumb a finger, I evoked anatomical notions, right? A clearer definition. So linguists know, and you know as well, that context changes meaning, right? Context changes meaning. The trick is that linguists, in both those instances, know how to explain that, and with respect to the law, we know how to explain that meets evidentiary standards, right? So we can then help you in cases, and this is why we have linguistic experts, because we can explain the law, we can explain the language to the law. Does that make sense? Here's another, and then I'll be done. Oh, okay, I got 12 hours and 6 minutes. I'm a professor. I publish. I try to publish in academic journals. If I were to write an article full of sentences that sounded like this, I looked at the ball. I looked at the ball. 5 words, all from Germanic origin, all simple language, the language that we speak. No matter how good the content of that academic article were. If the whole article consisted of simple sentences of Germanic origin, mostly single syllable, would that article be published? Probably not, right? So what I've got to do is I've got to change that vocabulary and actually the syntax and making it more complex, because that's the way we do things. And that's the way you do things in the law too, right? So let's do it because you guys are on the same level. I looked at the ball, vocabulary. What would you change? Ball becomes?
Sphere.
Sphere, but if you can say 2 words instead of 1, you're going to make that works better. Spherical object. Looked, observed. I observed the spherical object. Yeah, but that's active voice. We've got to switch it into? Passive voice. The spherical object was observed by me. Yeah, that's still not going to get there. You know what? What we try to do in both legal discourse and academic discourse is nominalize verbs, which is a fancy way of saying we change verbs into nouns. So I observed the ball, the spherical object becomes what's?
Spherical object is accomplished by persons.
You got it. See? We end up with something like this. Personal observations were conducted vis-a-vis a designated spherical object. Okay? And then the whole article becomes incomprehensible. But I'm published, right? One of the things we constantly deal with as linguists is, and this has sort of been mentioned, is that lay folks, and this came from a question recently, right? That lay folks have to deal with that complex language. And that leads to all sorts of dramas, all sorts of issues. California Board of Prison Terms, a case, I do lots of cases, but the California Board of Prison Terms, most folks that are in the California prisons are either non-native English speakers or have a 6th to 8th grade education. They had to fill out the parole documentation where there was a question, it was in the PowerPoint, but we don't have time for that, unless you want me to stay until tomorrow morning. But the phrase was exigent circumstances. Now, how could a 6th grade educated non-native English speaker deal with that phrase? Exigent circumstances. I asked my students at BYU what exigent means.
Or exigent?
Yeah, oh, you guys don't even know how to pronounce it. Thank you. Say it out loud again, sorry. Exigent. What sort of, that's an alien word. They don't know. I see them all clicking on their little computers to try to figure out what that word means, right? And yet, apparently, it's a key word in the law, right? It's a term of art in the law. And yet, normal people don't know it. So constantly, I do cases like that where I'm able to show that a normal person, ordinary meaning, couldn't have understood that. I do lots of cases with non-native English speakers of the kinds that have been mentioned by Judge Davis, and I do lots of cases with Miranda. And when I say I don't mean I mean we, us linguists. I should have been more humble, but I'm an Australian. So anyway, just to round up, linguists have the tools to help you, I think, understand what is needed to look at the language issues of your cases. And so, as Dr. Shai mentioned, quite often we are a valuable asset to the law, and so I encourage you to think of us. If you have the subconscious knowledge to have a sense that something's going on here linguistically in a particular case, right? And if you get that sense, call a linguist. That's all I want to say. I hereby declare that was my closing remarks.